Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 12 Lessons, 12 Nights to Christmas. My name is Gabriel Aborisade, and I will be taking tonight's episode, which says, Bring your best gifts to the child king. An important passage for us to consider will be Matthew chapter 2, verses 11. I'm going to read from here. Follow along. They entered the house and saw the child with his mother, Mary. And then they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasure chests and gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I want us to take a second to just consider what we read. Did you notice anything in the progression of gifts? Okay, perhaps you didn't. Let me narrow down. An important thing to note about what the wise men did was that they first of all bowed themselves down in worship and reverence. They gave themselves first, and then their gifts freely followed. This is a remarkable thing that they did, bowing themselves down to the baby king. Let's call him that. If the child king is maybe 2 years, 3 years, this was someone who was born that very night. And they reverenced who they believed he was going to be, and they showed in their actions. If we cast our mind back to the very beginning, or slightly after the very beginning of creation, the first sacrifices and gifts that were given in the book of Genesis. Let's open Genesis chapter 4, verses 2 to 7. Let's notice something there. Very important. Later, she gave birth to his brother and named him Abel. When they grew up, Abel became a shepherd, while Cain cultivated the ground. Verses 3 says, when it was time for the harvest, Cain presented some of his crops as a gift to the Lord. Abel also brought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lambs from his flock. The Lord accepted Abel and his gifts. I'll read it again. The Lord accepted Abel and his gifts, but did not accept Cain and his gifts. This made Cain very angry, and he looked dejected. I believe you all know the story. A few passages down the line, the first murder in history was committed because a man refused to heed the divine order. Let's call it that. The divine order. God, first of all, wants you before he wants your gifts. And if the Lord rejects a man, he rejects his gifts. Because, come to think about it, what would the creator or the creator of the whole universe really want from man? He created all things, including the man himself. And if he is giving an order of what he really wants, I think it will be foolhardy of us to want to do otherwise. This reminds me of a very important passage. After the King David had committed the grievous sin of not just assassinating the husband of the woman who he took, but also committing an act of adultery with her. It said something in the psalm when he was asking the Lord for forgiveness. A very important thing. And I think that is a clear difference between the man who we call David and Saul. David seemed to understand the heart of God and know what God truly wanted. Let's just consider it very quickly. Psalms 51 from verse 17 says something that I think all of us should look out for. He knew this as far back as then. Psalms 51 verses 17. Listen to what King David said. I will start from verse 16. Because a lot of us might want to deceive ourselves. I can live whatever way I want. I can do whatever I want to do. Do I really need to be, close to God? If I give him a gift, he should take it. I mean, it's a very expensive gift. Really? Is that really the God that we serve? Verse 16 says, you do not desire a sacrifice, or I would offer one. You do not want a burnt offering. The sacrifice you desire is a broken spirit. You will not reject a broken and repentant heart, oh God. Maybe I should give you a second to think about this. Because I'm certain when you heard the title, bring your best gifts to the child king, you'll be like, this is Christmas. What can I bring to the Lord? Actually, what the Lord is telling you this evening is bring yourself first and then bring anything that you have. Because if you can offer yourself truly, then nothing will be too great for you to give to the Almighty. Another important story I believe we can learn from will be the woman who brought a very special gift to Jesus. If we consider the book of Matthew chapter 26 from 6 to 13, it's sometimes a very funny story, but deep nonetheless. Funny because a woman who understood who she was approaching, who had the right kind of perspective about the person she was approaching, came and offered what we can call a ridiculous gift. The gift was so ridiculous that it seemed people in the room were more offended on her behalf than the person who offered the gift. It's funny, but also not so funny. Because if we look at the woman, she showed the person who truly owned her heart because of the magnitude of the gifts that she brought. But let me say it showed that she had the right perspective of the person she was approaching. And other people in that room did not, including some of the disciples of Jesus. This fragrance you have spilled, do you know how expensive it is? What is this you are doing? Why? How can you? But, in that moment, we see what is truly important. Because the person who she was trying to get across to understood the message that she was passing. And he accepted the gifts in totality. The last passage we are going to check out this evening, as we hammer down on this matter of bringing our best gifts, or the last few passages we are going to hammer on, will be the book of Deuteronomy. First, the book of Deuteronomy from 14:23, which says something very important. Deuteronomy 14, verses 23, says something very important. It says, 23 says, bring this tithe to the designated place of worship, the place the Lord your God chooses for his name to be honored, and eat it there in his presence. This applies to your tithes of grain, new wine, olive oil, and the firstborn males of your flocks and herds. But perhaps the very last line is the most important line. Doing this will teach your hearts, or teach you to always fear the Lord your God. Once again, the matter of the heart. Because what this is saying is, if you bring your tithes, but you do not fear the Lord, it means that your sacrifice or your tithes most likely are not accepted. Not most likely, are definitely not accepted. So what are we going to do going forward? When we think about what the Lord truly wants, we will think of it as mere money. We will think of it as just time. But if we have money, if we have time, if we have resources, if we have intellect, we don't think of our totality as humans, our totality as creations of this creator, as something to lay down. I know we all know this passage very well. Romans chapter 12. Still hammering on the same thing. Verses 1 to 2. Romans 12. And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God. Perhaps when a lot of us came across this passage the first time, we might have thought, oh, this is a new thought. Actually, this is just the second passage that is talking about the New Testament. You can see the other passages we have read have actually been the Old Testament. It has been a constant and common knowledge for those who are truly looking out for what pleases the Lord. Mind you, those who are truly looking out for what pleases the Lord have always known it is the life, their lives, and then their gifts. and not the gift first and maybe their lives. Romans 12 verse 1 says, and so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind they will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Have you learned something this evening? Have you gotten a new perspective of what the Lord truly wants? I'll end with these few notes. When we indeed think about God giving us his best gifts, his son, and we think about what his son did, not just coming, but fulfilling the very reason he came, laying down his life, the ultimate sacrifice to redeem all man and to reconcile us back to God. What gifts do we really think will measure in comparison to this? What gifts can we really bring to God that is too much? I'll leave you with these questions. Think about it. And I want it to also influence your decision going forward about what truly pleases the Lord, what the Lord truly wants from you, and the gifts that truly delights our Creator. God bless you, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Please like, comment, share if this blessed you. Thank you.